All right, man. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Once again, we got the Aizu Musume from the Fukushima Chem.
Sure.
From Aizu Wakamatsushi. That's okay. I need to go visit these guys.
Shenandoah River. No one's gonna understand that reference.
Well, unless they saw the previous episode. See the
Yeah.
last episode to know why he did that.
Yeah.
Um,
This is so good though.
it is good.
Yeah.
And once again, Tohoku is just takes the cake, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Honestly, I have to say, I mean, we drank sake from all over Japan.
Yeah.
And I don't think anything comes close to like the Tohoku area
Yeah.
sake. They just make the best sake.
Yeah.
It's just the reality.
Sorry, Niigata.
I mean, Niigata's pretty good too. Honestly,
for
like
you, yeah.
I like Kyushu too. Kyushu's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
the sake that we got from there is pretty good.
that's
but-
true. Yeah. The one that we got from you'll find pockets of really good sake,
Yeah.
but for like the
Generally,
standard like
yeah,
go to,
yeah.
you can't go wrong with Tohoku a lot of the time.
You really can't.
Yeah.
You really can't.
So today we're going to be talking about kind of an interesting topic. It's going to be about
Maja.
Mahjong. No, we're not talking about gambling. We're talking about you say MAGA, I say MAGA, the MAGA movement for Make America Great
MAGA?
Again. You said MAGA, and
Did I
I
say
say
MAGA?
MAGA. Yeah, the MAGA movement. It's like
Oh.
you sound like a European dude.
Oh yeah, we do. I have been watching the MAGA movement very well.
Yeah, there
I
you
guess that's more Indian, but
Yeah, you just went from German to Indian in that one sentence.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
with how immigration's going, it's all kind of the same thing these days.
Dude, I just gotta say, I watched like, oh man, I hope this doesn't get me canceled, but you know, Piers Morgan had Nick Fuentes on.
Oh yeah, I
Did you
saw
see
that too.
So
And
you got Aladdin.
yeah,
Yeah, oh man.
yeah.
Okay. Anyways, so that's actually kind of related to what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
But tell me, why'd you want to talk about this?
So
topic?
okay, so there's been a cultural battle in the U.S. for I would say close to a decade now,
Yeah.
and it really started when Trump got elected the first time.
in 2016.
Yeah. And this cultural battle of how should people think of their country,
Mhm.
right? Should we be accepting of all cultures, or should we think of your culture's fine, but as an American, I'm thinking of America first,
Mhm.
right? And there's been this big cultural battle in the U.S. for, like I said, about a decade now, and it's kind of come to like a climax
Mhm.
point where I think the America First group has kind of taken over the dominant
Yeah.
identity for Americans
Yeah.
right now.
Well,
right?
now especially like the main news channels in the States are now kind of leaning conservative a bit more.
Yeah, right. And who knows if that's going to change? It might. You know, we might see a Democrat president get elected in the next election. Maybe that just
Yeah.
shifts. Who knows? But for the time being, right now, there's this really big push for MAGA.
Yeah.
Or
MAGA.
like recently, it's kind of in a way been rebranded as America First.
America First. Yeah,
Right?
for sure.
And it's like this idea of like, look, we're not trying to push anybody out,
Mhm.
except, well, I mean, ICE is literally doing that, but like, we're not trying to like shut off all our communication with people, but
Mhm.
the mentality we're going to have is we're going to try and make our country good,
Yeah.
right? Anything that benefits us, we're interested in.
Yeah. America should take care of its own needs first.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And recently here in Japan with Takaichi-san,
Yeah.
she got elected, what was it, in November?
Yeah. Probably October.
I think it was October. Anyways, a couple months ago, she got elected as the prime minister.
Mhm.
And her identity as a leader is kind of this hard-headed, no-nonsense kind of person,
Yeah. Right.
right? And regardless of how you feel about her,
Mhm.
she's really taken a really hard
Mhm.
stance on Japan first,
Yeah.
right? We're like, the economy sucks right here.
Yeah.
We need to restart things. You know, people have kind of lost their way a little bit here
Mhm.
in Japan. And
Yeah.
it's like, there isn't really this clear idea of like, what does it mean to be Japanese?
Yeah.
And so her stance is, I want to restart all of that. I want to make people fired up about Japan
Mhm.
again. I want people to be proud of their country and nationalistic.
Yeah.
And I want Japan to have like a dominant and prominent role in the global stage.
Yeah.
Right. And since she's kind of put that idea out into the wild, people have just eaten that up.
Yeah.
And you've seen this huge cultural shift here in Japan. I don't know if you've experienced it, but you probably have. I've experienced it a lot. And, you know, there's definitely been a lot more hostility, I will say, towards like foreign cultures as a whole. There's been a lot less tolerance for things. Yeah. And look, like a lot of it is negative, right? Yeah. As a foreigner, it sucks when people are like more cautious and wary of like interacting with you. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, it's not all that negative because it's like, here, look, Japan's been kind of treated like a doormat for the past decade for people coming over here and kind of just abusing like the culture here. Yeah. Right. Like perfect example. And we've talked about this in the past, but like nuisance streamers, people who make content on streaming platforms like YouTube, by kind of just being obnoxious in public places, right? Right. There's a lot of people who come to Japan to do that because they know that the police are kind of like comparatively to other countries really soft. Yeah. Right. And especially if you're a tourist here, they're not really going to do things like obviously if you
as
kill
long as you
somebody,
don't have drugs.
Yeah. If you don't have drugs, you don't commit any like really serious crimes. They're not really going to do anything to you. Right. They're just going to be like, hey, don't do that.
And then have you seen videos of like the subway break dancers coming over here?
Bro, I lived them. I'm not even
in Japan?
Yes. Literally 2 weeks ago, I'm riding the Tokaido line home, coming home from work, and there was this group of, I don't know, they're high school, college age kids, right? And one kid is African American. Yeah. Obviously, he seems like he's coming over here on a visa. Yeah. And then he's got he's with a group of his Japanese friends. Yeah. They literally verbatim did breakdancing on the train.
The Japanese people too.
Yes, crowded train. They were like swinging off the line or the railings, and it's not just him; it's his friends too. But it's just like I was so frustrated, and you know, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't say anything, and I'm really ashamed that I didn't say anything because it's like it just makes us look bad.
You know, it's funny because, you know, when I would ride the train in Boston, you would get those people all the time. Yeah. And there it's kind of expected because there's actually a system in Boston where at the train station, you can do performances. And technically on the trains, they're not allowed. Yeah. But they're kind of accepted now. But in Japan, it's so foreign that it's kind of like going from 0 to 2,000.
I mean, look, I'm going to be honest. Yeah. Even if I was in a place where that was an accepted thing and it was not illegal at all, or it wasn't like frowned upon by society, I hate that, man. Yeah. Like, look, if you want to mess around, go do it on your property. Go do it in your private space. Like, in public spaces, people are just kind of trying to relax or, you know, they're going from point A to the point B. They don't want to be bothered by somebody just being like drawing all this attention to themselves. Yeah. And it's like, it's less of like, I don't care that you yourself are trying to do like whatever it is you're doing to attract attention. I care that you're bothering other people. Yeah. You know, that's what bothers me. Yeah. And
people doing pull-ups on the tori here. Yeah.
It's just like, you know, they know that that's not something they should be doing.
You know, actually though, I'm not sure because things are so different that they don't understand. But the important thing though is that they're not trying to understand. Yeah. They're just trying to come through and like it's their playground and then they're leaving.
And see, I don't know. We're getting a little bit off track, but like I think there's a huge problem with specifically our generation. Yeah. Our generation and younger, where people just do not have situational awareness. Yeah. Right? They don't look around and go, okay, what is everyone doing? Okay, well, they're not doing this. Maybe I'm not supposed to do that then. Like that kind of like thinking process doesn't happen with like people our age and younger.
Hey guys, if you've watched this far, you're going to love our Austin and Arthur friends.
In the Austin and Arthur Friends, you're going to really improve your English listening, and I mean a lot. As a friend of ours, you will get each episode ahead of time with no ads, so you can watch before anyone else. But not just that, you can ask us questions or leave comments, and we will make a special video each week answering questions and responding to comments. These videos will not be released publicly. They are for friends, members only. It's a great way for you to ask our opinions directly and for us to respond directly. You'll also get listening practice questions and answers that you can check. Answers are for friends, members only. Oh, and anaume mondai mo desu ne. So you can check your listening. But not just that, for each episode, you'll get a list of native phrases we said from the video, along with practice sentences and pronunciation practice to help your speaking as well. You'll also get access to a members-only community where you can talk with us, the both of us. Mainly me, right?
No, definitely not.
This is a great way to support our show, but also get closer to us and improve your English as well. For more information, click on the link in the description box, the gayorang, or go to our website, austinandarthur.com.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that has to do with like the fact that like we all have smartphones and stuff. People just aren't really looking around and paying attention to things, right? And then when they are, it's like, oh, I'm just going to do things now, right? I'm not really going to think about like what's going on.
Yeah. But so these kinds of things are happening in Japan. And so as a response, Takaichi gets elected.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? What's funny is, so I started using X, Twitter, a lot more recently. And as far as social media platforms go, what I like about Twitter is like, it really is what you make it, and it can change really quick. So I actually feel like I get a wider range of content on there than I do on other platforms.
Yeah.
So I've been using it more. But what was surprising to me is when Takaichi got elected in October, there were so many foreign people who were saying, Japan is doomed, for either they voted an ultra-conservative person in, or they voted a woman in, oh no, women are our problems, you know?
Yeah.
And it's funny, it seemed like there was more disapproval for her from outside of the country versus inside of the country, even though people talk about how Japan as a society is so conservative. It's
it's pretty crazy. Like, I mean, we don't really have to talk a whole lot about her specifically.
Yeah.
But I do. There is one thing that I do think that there needs to be some honesty here, in like in the foreign community, because like you talk a lot of foreigners here, and overwhelmingly they disapprove of her. Overwhelmingly,
yeah.
And my stance on it is, there's some things that I disagree with her with. I think the work opinion that she has, her like famous saying, oh, people just need to work more. And it's like, no.
They're already working a lot.
Japan has like one of the highest individual like production statistics in the entire world. I think like there's basically like, I think it's like America and maybe Germany are higher.
Yeah.
But like other than that, like Japan blows the rest of Asian countries out of the water in terms of like individual production.
Yeah.
Like what a individual person does in their day when they're working, Japan's really high on that. People are working hard.
Yeah.
You know, people work 10 hours a day here. They don't need to work more.
Yeah.
But here's the problem with Japan. Japan's not innovating.
Yeah.
Right? Like what new product has come out in Japan in like the last like 20 years?
People talk about how they help with like semiconductors and stuff like that, but not too much. I mean, a lot of that's going to Taiwan.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like you want to talk about semiconductors, that's Taiwan, right?
Yeah,
like Taiwan's the place that's famous for that, and like Japan's like they still produce a lot of like electronics, but like so does Korea now. You know what I mean? It's like Japan's not really the only place that's doing that, so there's just not a lot of innovation here.
Yeah.
So I think people need to like, well, anyways, we don't need to know what my opinion is on stuff, but like. My point is, some of her opinions are things that I don't agree with, but some of the things I do agree with, and one of that is that like people should be more wary of like what to tolerate when someone comes to Japan, because like this is not a playground.
Yeah,
Japan is not Disneyland, right?
Although I've said that in the past.
It is. No,
in a sense it is, but it's not.
It is in some ways, and like a lot of stuff feels fake here, right?
Yeah.
But it's not Disneyland in the sense it's like this isn't a place for you to come and just like, all right, I'm just gonna mess around here. Nothing matters. I have no consequences of my actions, like that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And I for one, even as a foreigner, I'm very happy that like people are kind of standing up for themselves now.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. You need to respect our culture.
Yeah.
You're coming here to this country.
Yeah.
You need to abide by the rules here.
Yeah.
And I think that's totally fair.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's funny. You talked about how because there is more of like what is labeled as an anti-foreigner sentiment.
Yeah.
I would say it's less anti-foreigner, more so standing up for yourself sentiment.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, stereotypes exist for a reason.
Yeah.
And I understand why someone would be more wary of me than of like a Japanese person, because statistically I'm more likely to cause problems.
Yep.
But that's the deal that's the thing I have to deal with living here. It's my choice to live here. And a lot of what's happening now, what the Takaichi Sori, what her cabinet is proposing will make my life harder.
Yeah.
But I think it's for the greater benefit of the people here. I have a choice to leave. They don't.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Right? And here's like it's been a really hard time for me personally having conversations about the US right now. Everybody that I talk to, like I come from a really conservative family. Most of my family is Republican. Like I myself identify as Republican, right? I'm not saying that I think everything Trump does is a great thing.
Yeah. That's a whole nother episode, man.
But my point is, I have a really hard time talking with people because like that conversation immediately gets shut down when I kind of reveal myself, right?
Yeah.
But something that I want to talk about, because it's like I think the stuff going on with ICE, I'm a little bit weary about, because you could see that happen here, where it's like Japan really cracks down on like immigration here.
But is that a bad thing?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Let me warm up to it.
Okay.
All right. Here's the conversation that I want to have with Americans, and I think Japanese people need to have this conversation too. I think both sides of the aisle in the US, Democrats and Republicans, need to come and go, hey, we have two problems right now. The first one is immediate. It's an immigration problem. People are illegally immigrating over to the US. Okay? This is not good. It creates human trafficking problems, drug problems, a whole slew of problems. And it's not fair to the people who go through the legal system and immigrate over to the US. I don't care what our justification for undocumented citizens. It's not fair. If some dude comes over from Vietnam, goes through like the whole process thing, and then some guy from Guatemala just sneaks across the border, if I was the Vietnamese guy, I'd be pissed.
Yeah, right.
I paid thousands of dollars to come over here, and this guy just showed up.
Yeah.
So I think that's not fair, and there needs to be some discussion on how to handle that. Now, ripping families apart probably isn't the way to go about it, but there needs to be some discussion done. And at the end of the day, if you break the law in coming into a country, you're breaking the law.
Yeah.
Right? And Japan has the same problem right now. And part of that is the, what's the engineer visa?
I don't know.
Okay. There's like a business engineer visa. I don't remember exactly.
Okay. No, it's a business investment visa.
Something like that, right? Basically, a problem that people from India and mostly China have been coming over here and getting this visa. And that in itself is no problem.
I was recommended to do that too, actually. Yeah.
That in itself is no problem. Basically, it's like, it's an investor visa. It's people who want to come over to Japan and start a business.
Yeah.
That is no problem, right? These are usually very highly skilled people who are coming from these countries.
Yeah.
These are usually like impoverished countries. I'm counting India as kind of an impoverished country. Well, you can debate that, but people say it's going to be superpower. It's still an impoverished country right now.
Yeah.
But anyways, they're coming from these impoverished countries. They're high skilled people. So they're people that Japan wants.
Yeah.
The problem with these visas that has been brought up lately is that, first of all, it's very, very easy to get permanent residency.
Yeah.
Like, you basically get it instantly.
Yeah.
The other problem is a lot of the people who come over here on these visas end up just sneaking their whole family in.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Japan's got these like randomly exploding populations across the country that, you know, you have places like Saitama, places like, you know, here, like some pockets here in Kanagawa, and like all these kind of like more Inaka areas in Japan that suddenly have these big explosions of people from other countries coming in, and oftentimes not really going through the legal system.
Yeah.
Right. And so Japan's cracked down on that.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of this like discussion of, oh, Japan's kicking all the foreigners out.
Yeah.
And it's like, is that 100% really what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a couple things, at least from my experience. So about the business investor visa. So when I was first starting my business, someone said, yeah, why don't you just do the business investor visa? Yeah. You just have to borrow 50 grand.
Yeah.
And then put it in your bank account for one day.
Yeah.
Next day, return the money. You can show that you had 50 grand invested. You can get a visa immediately. Like, that's all you need. So you could have people pull money together, do that for one day, give all the money back, and then you have like an entryway into Japan.
Yeah.
And I was watching this, there's this YouTube channel called Asian Boss.
Yeah.
And he was talking about that. And he was saying how like the government did like research into it, and then about half of the corporations are shell corporations.
Exactly.
There's nothing happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're just names.
And you know, like, I don't blame the people doing it. I don't.
I mean, if you can, do it.
I don't blame people from Central and South America sneaking into the U.S. I don't blame them. I have no ill will towards them, because it's like, I would do the same thing if I were in their shoes.
Yeah.
I don't want to grow up in a place that sucks, that's like dangerous for my kids to live in. Of course I would want to sneak into a better country.
Yeah.
Like, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's like, you got to close the loopholes.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
You got to close the loopholes. You got to remove the incentives.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like, here's a dark reality that Japan does.
Yeah.
That's not really talked about a lot, but there's a lot of indentured labor here.
Yeah, right.
Right? The people coming from like Southeast Asia especially, they'll be brought in here with like these promises of like, oh, you're going to get citizenship here in Japan. You're going to get all these benefits, and you come over here and you work in like, you know, a vegetable farm.
Your passport's taken away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. And so how do you get rid of that? Well, you could argue, oh, well, you got to shut down the company, but that doesn't really work. The new company just takes its place. What you need to shut down is you need to shut down access to these people coming in. That's the problem. You need to remove the incentive and get rid of the loopholes.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing, right? So humans are humans, which means we're going to try to get the best deal possible no matter what, right? And so you can't get angry at the immigrants for trying to come in the easiest way.
No, God, no.
And you can't get angry at the corporations or the people who are trying to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
The only thing that you can really do is close the loopholes, close the incentives, and then when new incentives come by, like people talk about how like the rich people are taking advantage of the system and stuff, and it's like, well, if I was rich and I could, why not? Like anyone would do that, you know? But so for me personally, like I was actually thinking I would love to get a business investor visa, and now it's not looking very realistic for me.
Yeah.
But you know what? Hey, Japan has to take care of its own first.
Yeah.
I am a guest here.
Yeah.
I don't want to get Japanese citizenship because one of the big reasons why is because even if I got Japanese citizenship, I would not be considered Japanese here, you know?
Exactly.
That's a big thing, you know?
Another thing I want to kind of talk about is, so we talked about kind of like the foreign feeling here in Japan, but like another side of like the America first or Japan first in this context kind of sentiment is being nationalistic.
Nationalism.
And there's been this huge backlash in Japan about being nationalistic since World War II. For obvious reasons, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have really kind of reflected on how Japan acted in World War II and, have kind of come to the conclusions like, okay, well, you know what? I don't think that was the right course to go.
Yeah.
And you see this a lot with Germany as well, right?
Yeah, well, Germany's way kowtowing big time.
Right?
And,
recent years, that has completely flipped. You have a massive military buildup that Japan's doing now.
Yeah.
Japan is taking extremely, like, really strong stances against China at the moment, right? And a lot of that mentality is really flipped. And I think there's definitely a threshold where you can look at it and say, okay, this is bad. But one of the things I'm kind of really tired about, because you've seen this happen in the U.S. for like the past decade, is anybody who has like some kind of like pride in their nation immediately gets labeled as a Nazi.
Really? Okay,
you've seen that a lot.
Yeah, well, in the media maybe, or in social media maybe.
Yeah.
But like one thing though that, especially, I just came back from the States. I'm surprised at how many American flags are everywhere versus Japanese flags here. Like it was. So my son Leo.
I think that's because of where you were though.
I could be. Yeah. I mean, well, I'm in North Boston, which is still quite liberal, you know. But even so,
you go to Seattle, man, and it's like. Sometimes you can't even tell you're in the U.S.
I know that's
that place is like a third world country.
That's we don't even, that's a whole nother discussion topic. But no, it got to the point where so my son Leo, he's 2 years old, right? And he understands English, but he doesn't really speak English because he speaks Japanese because his hoikuen speaks Japanese.
Sure,
but when we first got to the States, he's like, "Oh, look, flag, and I was like, "Yeah, that's the American flag." And whenever we went out to drive, it was like a little game for us to count the American flags.
Oh, that's cute.
No, I didn't he did. Like, I'd be driving, he'd be like, American flag, American flag, American flag. And then sometimes you'd go down like this road that has like a bunch of, he's like, so many American flags.
Yeah.
And it's funny. Like, it was like a game because and I asked Natsumi, I was like.
That's a new thing though, man.
Really?
I really think that's a new thing.
Maybe Seattle and where I'm from are culturally different because we're the origin of the Revolutionary War, so that could be a thing.
Fair. You guys are more American than we are.
I will fight to the death to say Bostonians are more American than you guys are.
You guys did do that tea thing.
We did the Tea Party. No, but man, I really wish we could have a bout about the East Coast West Coast again. But I asked Natsumi, like, oh, what would you think of if you saw someone who had a Japanese flag in their yard? And she's like, oh, it's kind of scary, ultra-nationalist right-wing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that is, I never even thought about that. You never see flags here. Obviously government buildings, like you go to like a city hall, they'll have like the Japanese flag. You don't really see that except for like the psychopaths that are like in their stupid little like
Bring
speaker
back
van.
The emperor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you know what? I kind of wish that you would see a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying there's a kind of scary mentality that you can get with nationalism, right?
Yeah.
And you do see it in the US sometimes where it's like America's better than everywhere else.
Yeah.
Like I grew up with that mentality, right? Back in the 90s, a lot of opinions that Americans had about America was this was the best place in the world to live. Everywhere else sucks. We have the best technology. The culture is the most accepting and just generally best. The food's everything about America is the best.
Yeah.
Right. And
sorry, keep on going.
Go ahead.
No, and because as I was born in Germany. When I first moved to the States, then like when I told people I'm from Germany, they'd always bring up World War II.
Yes.
And I'm like, I wasn't alive then.
Yeah.
My parents weren't alive then.
Yeah.
That was 60 years ago. Why are you still talking about that? And but it's like people living in the past about that, you know?
And so that's definitely not a good way of being nationalistic. But I think something that really sucks, and I often see it, I'll tell you the place that I see it the most is I see it in students.
Okay.
When you have students in a class and you assign them a project and there's like, talk about XYZ country, and they'll pick like Korea, France, Madagascar or whatever.
Yeah.
They'll pick all these countries all over the world, and a lot of these kids will make really extravagant presentations like, here's French culture, this is a croissant, this is like, this thing, and here's this really interesting. But then later down the road, you assign the same project, except you have them talk about Japan.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is this festival thing. People wear a yukata for this, and they can eat dango. And we have this every year. And it's like, it's just really boring.
Yeah.
And, you could attribute some of that to
familiarity.
That definitely, like, sure. But a lot of it is just this mentality of Japan's just kind of boring.
Yeah.
And everywhere else is more interesting.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be proud of this country.
Yeah.
Right? There's this idea of like, it's not good to be proud of being Japanese.
Yes. Well, it's funny that you talk about that because I like reading about history, and I'm actually interested now. I'm reading books about the period right after World War II ended.
Yeah.
But there's a book that I recommend everyone who's interested in this should read. I don't know if there's a Japanese translation for it, but it's called The Wages of Guilt. And it compares German and Japanese reactions to World War II.
Yeah.
And it's very, very enlightening. And actually, since that book is quite old, and since then, a lot of things have changed in Japan for the better, I think. But they're for how can I say this?
Diplomatically.
So the majority of Americans wanted the emperor to be executed for war crimes.
Yeah.
But for the longer term vision and plans of GHQ and the American government, they decided to basically push aside responsibility and be like, we don't need to talk about that. Let's blame Tojo. Tojo was the bad guy. Sure. Just kind of swept everything under the rug.
Yeah.
But because he was like the symbol of Japan at that time, and he basically, everything was swept under the rug for him, subconsciously for the Japanese people in general, everything got swept under the rug. So there's like, the thing about Germany is that they came face to face with like the concentration camps and the evil that happened. But in Japan, that was kind of swept under the rug. So there's almost like a numb repression that happens. And I think that's connected now to, I don't know anything about Japanese culture. Japan's not special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you see it in like older generations. Like I'm talking about like, and look, a lot of our viewers are part of this demographic.
Yeah.
We just, the nature of our channel, we get a lot of people who are Japanese that have like either moved to another country or lived in another country, then came back to Japan. So I'm not trying to attack you guys, but I'm saying that you, especially in older generations, like the, Generation X, Generation Y, you see a lot of Japanese people traveling everywhere, moving to different countries. The idea of like mixed race marriages became really popular here in Japan. And it's like a lot of that sentimentality has really established itself to the point where you kind of have like two different kinds of Japanese people these days. You have people who are like still kind of traditionalist, and you have people who are just like very globalist.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like these two kinds of people don't often interact.
Yeah.
And they often have like very opposite opinions about Japan.
Yeah.
Right? You talk to not everybody who travels a lot, but you talk to a lot of people who travel a lot. They usually say really negative things about Japan. Oh yeah, people work too much, and I don't like how close-minded some people can be here, and like I like the Western way of thinking. You see that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny how like back, I think about Studio Ghibli before it even became Studio Ghibli. So like Miyazaki Hayao got his first breakthrough by making a series about Heidi and Anne of Green Gables.
Yeah.
Like the most European Western things ever, And later on he started to bring in more Japanese elements, but for a long time, when you think about Castle in the Sky, super European. When you think about Kiki's Delivery Service, we've talked about that before. Yeah. And like there was almost like this, rejection of, what we have here in Japan is uninteresting. But I will say though, I feel like Gen Alpha, the Reiwa group, whatever.
Yeah.
They're getting to be more interested in traditional Japanese culture.
I think so too. Completely agree.
And that's quite nice.
I like it.
Think. Yeah.
I like it. I look, I have no problem with a person being nationalistic and nationalistic. I'm drunk and slurring my words. I have no problem with it. Yeah. I love America.
Yeah.
I am super patriotic of America. Yeah. Now, I think there's a problem if you're like, my country's better than yours and you're a disgusting person because you're not one of us. I don't like that mentality. Yeah. But I love when people are proud of where they came from.
Yeah.
You have all this push in the past decade of people like embracing their identity and like, diversity is our strength, and you should have all these people from like various places come and like show how proud they are to be, whatever race. And it's like, why can't Japanese people do that?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly great.
One thing, so we're going to go a little bit longer, but I think it's worth it. So about my situation, right? So, I was born in Germany as an American, and I experienced a lot of discrimination because I was foreign.
Yeah.
But then I went to an international school where I had friends from all different countries. Granted, they were all wealthy because I went to an international school. There's no poor people in international schools. That's just the fact of the matter. But like, I remember people being able to say, "Oh, I'm really good at this." And people going, "Yay, that's awesome." And then someone saying, "I'm really good at this," going, "Yay, that's awesome." There's no real like competition because we could all appreciate what we had. And it wasn't really until maybe 2013, when the cultural tide in America started to shift a little bit, when I really started to feel this antagonism where like, if someone says they're really good at something, then someone else says, "Oh yeah, you think you're better than me?" It's like, yeah, well, isn't that okay? You're better than me at some things too,
Yeah.
And it's like, I think that kind of, in a good meaning, globalism, where we all have our unique identities and we're interacting with each other. That works.
Yeah.
When you come from a mindset of abundance where you're not trying to prove yourself.
Yeah.
But what I've seen in the United States, and I've seen here too, is that same, like, there's an underlying insecurity where people have to feel like they're the best because subconsciously they don't think they're the best.
Yeah.
That's why in the States they bring up World War II.
Well, all the time. You have that, but also I feel like there's this idea to just immediately write off people based on where they're from. It's like, oh, well, you grew up rich, so you wouldn't understand, or I grew up American, so obviously I don't understand the nuance and X, Y, and Z, right? And it's just like there's been recently it's kind of stopped, but for the past couple decades there's been this idea of like, if you don't like rank high in the tier of like oppression, then you can't appreciate where you're from, or you can't discuss your experiences in life. And I'm glad that that's shifting away, and that people are just like, you know what, I like being Japanese, I think that we should stand up for ourselves. I like being American. I want to think of America first. You know, I want to think of Japan first. It's like, I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it goes back to like we talked about how countries like people, you look out for your interests. You got to do what works best for you, and you can't fault. Well, you can't get angry at someone for trying to do what's best for them. You know, that's just how humans are.
I think there's one more thing that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
You know, we're already running over on time, but there's one more thing that I want to talk about because I have mentioned something on this channel that I've recently have come to change my mind.
Okay.
I do change my mind. I'm not a super like diehard traditionalist America all the time. Japan sucks. America's the best. No, I changed my mind.
Yeah.
So recently, I've done a lot of thinking about this. And previously on this channel, I've said that I am an American who will always try to be American. I'm never going to be Japanese. That being said, I will try to fit into Japanese culture. But I've done some reflecting on this because of basically some talking points that some of the America First group in the US has had. And that's if you are a foreign person coming to America to live, you should put aside your home country and you should think of America's first because this is where you live.
Yeah.
Right? And I was thinking about that and it's like, okay, well, you know, actually that sounds kind of fair, right? If I'm living somewhere, then I should try to I should put that country ahead of my own country because if I don't, then why am I living there?
Yeah.
Right? And recently I've kind of changed my mindset that I really care about Japan's future more than the US. That is like a big shift in my mentality.
Yeah,
right
but
now.
I feel though that they're so intertwined.
Sure.
Okay.
I don't disagree with you on that. But previously, I've really tried to cling to my Americanness.
Yeah.
And I think now in the future I'm really more open to like embracing Japanese culture more.
Yeah, and I get that, and I think that's really good. But there is something that's fundamentally different in that. And if I was a European, maybe it would be different. Maybe I would feel that way too. But like in America, anyone can be in America because America is an identity. American is an identity not based on blood. It's based on values.
Yeah.
Right? You don't really have that anywhere else. So my wife, if she really wanted to, she could go to America and be American. Of course, people say, oh, what kind of Asian are you? But she'd still be American.
Yeah.
No matter how hard I try, I will never be Japanese, even if I get citizenship here.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like there's a limit to that. You want to go as much as you can.
Obviously, yeah. I think more of where I'm coming. I'm not saying that I'm suddenly going to become Japanese, but like, for me, like a big thing that I'm really going to try hard in 2026 is being less critical of how things are here in Japan.
Yeah.
And trying to see it from the point of view of Japan.
Yeah.
Right? Because I say it on this channel and like people call me out in the comments, but like I also do it at home when I'm talking with my wife about kind of things here. And like, you know, it's like, oh, well, this isn't how it's done in America.
Yeah, okay.
You know, that's a thing that I say a lot.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't how it's done in America.
Yeah.
I don't understand why it's done this way here.
Yeah.
Right? And I've really reflected on that in 2025, and it's like, okay, well, you know what? If I'm complaining about this, why don't I go live in America?
Yeah,
I don't want to do that. I like living in Japan.
Yes, you
so
live
I
the
need
Japanese
to embrace
way.
that more. I need to embrace that more, and so that's kind of where I'm coming from on this.
Okay, no, I totally get that, man.
Yeah.
Now this has been very cathartic for me.
You know? No, it is because it's like it's frustrating because it's like how I feel, and I think I can say that you probably feel very similar. Is it's frustrating because we're foreigners, and a lot of the sentiment that I think a lot of Japanese people feel about foreigners, I think we also can kind of empathize with.
Yeah.
Where it's just like some people just kind of take the piss, so to speak, and it sucks.
Yeah,
and it sucks when people feel that they can't defend themselves.
Yeah,
because
sure.
I think here in Japan, like the past couple decades, past several decades, I think a lot of people have like really kind of felt incapable of like standing up for themselves.
For sure, yeah.
You know?
That's why you gotta raise the yen. You gotta raise the value of the yen back to 100 yen per dollar.
Please. Oh my God. Oh,
that would help.
Dude, it probably hurt going back, didn't it?
It did.
Oh,
because like, cause I can go out here and I can get a coffee for 300 yen.
Oh.
Every coffee over in the States is 1,000 yen.
Oh man.
Oh yeah. So we could talk more about my experience in the States, but like, I feel like a lot of this would just get solved if the yen went back down like 100 yen, please. 110 yen per dollar.
Oh, come on,
guys,
economy.
Guys, Japanese people, please change the economy. Make the yen strong again.
Yeah. No, I feel the struggle, man. I feel it real deep.
Yeah, man. All right, man. I'll talk to you next time.
Yeah.